room full of talented people and think you don't belong there? Do you constantly question your abilities and think you're not good enough? Do you attribute your success to just being lucky when everybody else around you is okay with you? You might be hit by the imposter syndrome. Welcome to yet another session on Thought Leaders Cafe, a platform to talk about widespread challenges and explore possible solutions. Today, we'll be talking to Gladys Chan. She's a senior director at One Study Team. She's very passionate about helping people with imposter syndrome. Let's talk to her. Hey, Gladys, welcome to my channel.
Hello, how are you doing today?
Awesome. It's amazing to have you.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you for having me on the channel.
I know you're very passionate about helping people with imposter syndrome, right? How did it all start? Like, what triggered you to get into this topic and, learn more about it and help people?
Yeah, I think first of all, there's a term imposter syndrome probably 5 years ago. I recently learned that this is a thing, but it has been something that's on my mind. I've experienced it. I can relate it for throughout my entire careers. Early in my career, or maybe in many people's career, you're trying to think that I don't know how to do this do that. So it may be a skill sets, but it can also be just imposter speaking to you. So I think
Right.
this is something common that I just want to share my experience. And I also think it's something that's overlooked and nobody really talk about it. Maybe recently over the past 5, 6, or maybe 10 years that we started to expose more. Um, so yeah, that's why I started thinking. I started reading up more about it, as well as at least part of my experience. There's two factors, right? Sometimes it's internal, that
Mhm.
for a high achiever, that you just always get think about the imposter speaking beside you and the side of your head. And I do think that from coaching, as a manager myself, through coaching, you can help the to uh, use harness the energy of trying to be better, continue to learn, and harness that energy to continue to grow and do better.
Yeah.
Um, the other side of it is also as a manager and someone that's really love what I'm doing is being able to identify what is a toxic work environment and something that doesn't fit your career, and it's just not the right environment for you. And
Yes.
sometimes it's imposter syndrome is a result of that. So if I can have a microphone and help scream really, really loud, these are some of the symptoms that you should run away, one fast as way, and that's all. If that's all I can do, I will love to try to do more.
I was doing a research about this. I learned that around 70% of the people had this imposter syndrome sometime in their life. And it's very common. Like it's definitely very common. You might have it, I might have it, we might have had it at some point of time in our life. They said the psychological safety in the workplace is very important. Yeah, the leadership should be comfortable with somebody not knowing something in the meeting room. They should be okay to say, hey, I do not know about this. I can go back and then get back to you. What you said is absolutely right.
Exactly. It's also no matter where you're at in your career, your work background, skill level, the number of degrees that you'll have throughout your career, you may hit this, it may go away, it may come back. Any when you switch jobs, get promoted, or put on a new project, anything, imposter may come back. So it's like entire journeys. It may like kind of like come and go.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about how do we detect it? Like, how do somebody know that they have imposter syndrome?
So how does someone know that they have imposter syndrome? It varies from person to person. Uh, Very commonly, at least speaking from my own experience, is if you find yourself hit by like a very familiar feeling that I keep asking, I'm never good enough. I made the same mistakes again, or even just like deadline. Why does it happen again? Or start internalizing everything that it's just because you're not good enough. That may be an imposter. There's different types, and it shows up differently. For the professionists, the imposter syndromes and the triggers may be different. For
Mhm.
someone that's just like natural, we call it the natural genius, that they keep learning and absorbing and keep learning new things. The imposter syndrome may be short-lived, and The symptoms or signs may be slightly different as well. So it really varies from person to person and their personality and the goals that they set.
I heard even Albert Einstein had this imposter syndrome. He thought, oh, why am I being very famous? Why do people ask me for these many autographs? Why am I getting photographed this many times? I don't think I did something great. That is what he was thinking, and I was so surprised. This is coming out of one of the world's best scientists, right? We've
Yeah.
ever had. Um,
Yeah, sometimes you may think that, hey, I'm just lucky this time.
yes.
I usually at least for me, I find that hey, I need some luck sometimes, so I will take that as a win. But I nobody will be lucky forever.
Yes.
So over the years, I started just like keep track. I was like, yeah, maybe lucky, but if there's a patterns that I can start seeing, then it may not be because of luck. It's probably something that I have done correctly, and I want to slowly just sit down, reflect. What did I do that may have like a positive impact of what I did?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Why don't we just make this imposter syndrome go away completely so none of us have it?
I wish we can just kind
Yeah.
of like a little devil and delete it. Um, it's part of us that, especially for high achievers or someone with, it's most common by research and minority high achievers will have this. It's like part of setting goals and want to continue to learn and get better, or it can be the upcoming. But some of the consequences and kind of the impacts from imposter syndrome is really important to highlight here as well. And those can be signs on the signs of that you're experiencing imposter syndrome. For
Mhm,
example, if you find yourself that being very, very risk averse, you're not taking on promotions, you don't want to try any new projects, you're just happy as is. Potentially, you just avoid taking necessary risks because your fear of exposure that I'm not good enough. Like, I'm
mhm,
lucky to have my own positions right now. I'm lucky in my career. I don't want to expose myself. This is good. Another potential signs or potential consequences is you may work 80 hours a week. You'll be overwork trying to fill in, put in the hard work to overcome some of the skills gap or some of the knowledge that you think, only you think that you're not good enough to do. So
mhm,
it's just overcompensating on some of those gaps.
mhm.
Um,
I
and
see.
sometimes, speaking more to the risk aversions, right? Risk aversions, besides just taking on new opportunity, sometimes, especially for myself, I'm in engineering, do a lot of innovations and new types of work. For when imposter syndrome comes, you probably go with what you're most familiar with in terms of technical design. I have done this. Let's just do this all over again. Playing it really safe and just like stopping at the first thing that comes to mind and try not to do a lot of the innovation and creativity and not let those comes into your mind. So these are some of the things that you may be able to catch yourself that the imposter is speaking to you.
I find it difficult to draw a line between an actual imposter syndrome versus something that you're realizing about yourself. For example, maybe I'm not good enough. I'm really not good enough, right? Maybe I'm not good enough on certain technologies, or maybe I'm not good enough in my communication skills, versus everybody else is fine with me, and I'm just thinking that I may not be good enough. So, where do you draw this line?
I always question about this too is it imposter or is it really I'm not good at it? I think the most important part is like stop just talking to yourself, talk with others, find a support group. Like a lot of the imposter is like everything is in your head. So talking to each other, someone that you're comfortable with, like sharing is really important. So then you don't have to just like figure everything out on your own. So seek
Mhm,
feedback, regular feedback from someone that you trust or mentors that you trust. Try to identify patterns as well. So is it just a one-off? Is there common patterns? If it's repeatedly happening,
mhm,
facing on the data points like objectively that this is the common patterns that, for example, if you deliver a message to your group and is always perceived incorrectly, then maybe there's some true communication weaknesses. But it's just
that's
one
right.
off. Let's just keep track of that and keep an eye on it. But
Mhm,
the most important thing that I find useful is like just stop just talking to yourself. Start finding a peer support group, finding a mentor that you can chat with, And another part that is important is celebrate small wins so then you get more refreshed and have like a fresh piece of eyes on the same situations. For myself, I find it very useful to do something that I know and I am confident that I'm good at. It doesn't have to be work. It can be just like cooking a meal, a dish that I know it tastes good. I have got like really good positive feedback on. It can be a hobby, a sports, or anything that you know you're good at. And then just rebuild that confidence before you look at the situations again. So it's just the fresh piece of eyes and the fresh mindset is really important.
Mhm. So I think these are the phases that will help identify if I have something. So what are the next steps? Like, how do you overcome that?
I guess that depends on, there's always the typical answers. It depends. But the first step is definitely identifying it is imposter syndrome talking. And then what types of imposter? Is it setting realistic goals? If it's the profession that's speaking to you, then some people may tell you, hey, set more realistic goals or track progress towards the goal. For myself, I also find it really important. It's like what I call a brag doc, a documents that all my accomplishment things that I have done. So when I look back, it's like here's what I have done and what I have accomplished. Does it track towards my goal and how far am I away from the goal? So those helps when my perfectionist imposter comes in. Uh,
Okay.
as I'm part of it as my once again in engineering, the sometimes the expert imposter speaks to me. It's like I'm expected to have all the answers in the meetings right away. That's not necessarily true. I learned over the years, but sometimes you're expected to have all the answers, and you put the extra focus, the extra work to try to kind of predict all the questions that will be asked in tomorrow's meeting. For me, when the expert imposter speaks to me, is uh, once again identifying the culture that it is okay to tell them I'll get back to you on the questions. I'll follow up offline. So some those are some of the areas. Another piece that when I look at my career growth, what I want to learn, I am not just looking at all the skill sets that I want to build. What is the most important skill sets that I want to learn right now that can help my company, myself, as well as my team to move forward. So focus on one areas.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's not just one area 100% deep. There may be multiple areas that I need to know at least the basic to help my team unblock my team and ask the right questions. And that may be enough. So it's being an expert doesn't always means you need to have all the answers. Being an expert is learning what we're learning what to learn at what
Yeah.
level of detail. So I think sometimes the environment may push you towards like learning the skills that is relevant only, but some it's also for the individuals to also recognize that uh, come up with a learning plan and focus on what is important in that learning plan. That's
Mhm.
why college have like 101, 102 before you go to 202. It's really similar, and you can have different tracks. So just remembering our learning process when we were in elementary school or even in
Right.
college, like those kind of things we tend to forget after
Yep.
years in the industry. It's really important to just rethink.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. And having that focus on what exactly you want to learn, taking it slow, right? Step by step and breaking it down, that definitely helps. Thank you.
Yeah. And through my career also, this was when I was still individual contributor before I was a manager, or actually when I first switched jobs from individual contributor to a manager. The imposter of you're a superwoman, superman, you're like you have to do everything on your own. That
Right.
imposter probably stuck with me for a long time too. So I think that is part of the career growth. As I said, like when you switch jobs and get promoted, imposter, like different types of imposter may service up, and having a team and knowing, just like keep forcing yourself to remember you have a team behind you.
Yeah.
Sometimes it requires just like conscious effort. Write down in a sticky notes that you have a team. Those little things really
Yeah.
help. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done my switches from leadership to IC. First, I was an IC, then leadership, then IC again. then leadership. Now, so every time I did that switch, I go through the phase where there's a catch up, right? So you still have to brush up, learn, and then get to a part that you can start delivering production, quality code. And when you're learning something new, then you're going through that phase, and then you're okay with that. Then there's a stability, right? I think that's natural process of learning. So do you still attribute that as imposter?
Uh, I think it is part of it is imposter. Part of it, as you said, is natural learning. It's the natural like, process that triggers the thoughts that we, as psychological terms, call it the imposter syndrome. But it is part of the learning process. It's part of any change process that the imposter may speak to you again. While we're talking about the true weaknesses and identify the true weaknesses, one tricks, or at least a point of view that I reframe some of the situations to identify, is it imposter speaking to me, or is this a true weakness? Sometimes I reframe the situations in my head a little bit. I know what I really enjoy doing. For example, I love solving business problems. I love working through the ambiguity and unknowns. So those are areas that I enjoy doing and I have confidence on doing that. But if you ask me to come up with a technical solution, finish implementations in 4 weeks, I may not be able to do that anymore. So I will feel like that, oh, that's something that was really taunting. So, but if I reframe the questions to the business use cases, I can come up with the technical solutions. Then the imposter is not as loud in my head that you can't do that, you can't do that, you're not good enough to come up with technical solutions. But I can solve business problem. I know I can solve business problems. So sometimes reframing the situation may help to kind of lower the voice of the imposter.
Also talking to people, as you said, when you're in a situation where you're trying to find a solution to a problem, rather than thinking by yourself, if I talk to somebody, they don't even have to do anything, right? It's like that rubber duck concept.
Yeah,
I just need
it
somebody to
is.
talk to, and automatically your brain kind of navigates everything, and you have a solution. And the other person may not be even listening to you. You just need somebody to talk to. So
It's
that actually helps.
Yeah, it's also interesting. A lot of the communications tools out there right now, you can message yourself, and I do that too. I message myself and then
Me
kind of talk to
too.
myself. I Wubba duck. Sometimes I even forgot what I talked to the Wubba duck about, but my brag dog and like just talking to myself sometimes helps. Just visualize and like, oh right, I have a solution for myself 2 days ago.
Yeah. I don't even leave my 9-year-old daughter sometimes. I just keep talking to her. Mommy, you're boring me. And still, I just want to talk to her because, I kind of get clarity in my mind as I, word my thoughts.
But
So
it
it helps.
cannot like those cannot replace chatting with a peer or your trusted member. But when they're not available, if you need a Wubba Dog, there's like a lot of different version of Wubba Dog. Someone just needs to talk about it. Someone needs
Yeah.
to write. Some people prefer to write things down. So just find the methods that you can jot down your ideas and see some of the outcomes and some of the results.
Yeah. Come up with, this is a solution. You can wait till the next day to try it out. So whatever works, but thinking that you're not good enough is the last thing to do. There are lots of options that you can try out. And if you come to peace with the slow transformation, give it some time, I think we can get there. And whoever is going through this imposter syndrome, again, you're not alone in this. There are so many people, and it happens at all different levels. It doesn't mean like you're somebody like a fresher and you're new to the industry, so you're going through this. There are quite very senior people who go through this as well, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Not just senior, even you mentioned, right? Famous people,
Yeah.
CEOs, CTOs, everybody has like have probably gone through imposter syndrome sometimes throughout their career or their life.
Yep, yep, yep. I'm learning swimming now. My husband talks about how relaxing the swimming is, and for me, it's very overwhelming. Because I'm trying to learn different ways to move hands and kicks and breathing and all of that. It just looks like I'm in a war with water, right? But I do know that after I keep trying for so many times, and I'll be okay with that. Gone through the process of learning driving. So I think it's all a learning process. um, but again, the environment matters a lot. It's not just within your head. People around you can influence. That's when leadership and the company culture, they all play a very important role here. I was talking about the psychological safety. That is very important. And and not everybody is open to talk about their challenges to somebody else. So if you can identify, what if somebody is going through this issue, just by sometimes you can understand just by observing few people, right? So you can get on a manager, just talk it out and give them confidence that it's okay, and give them an opportunity to learn or go for a training, or club them with a mentor. So there are lots of options for leadership to help team or any team member who's going through this imposter syndrome.
Yeah, and just be very transparent too. If you have a good relationship with your manager or your mentor, ask them their point of view on how they see you and how they see where your strengths and weaknesses are. And as manager, if someone comes to you and try to figure out that are they meeting expectations, be very transparent with them. Tell them exactly how you see them, where are the growth potentials.
Mhm.
If they have done something that you didn't expect them to do and they exceeded expectation,
Yeah,
share those. Imposter syndrome sometimes is just a lot of things is just in their heads or it's a
yeah,
thoughts,
yeah,
but show them the facts, help them to show the facts, match them to if the company has any technical rubric or some sort of rubrics in the annual reviews, always review them and based on the facts, and that will really help the employees to rebuild their mental model and hopefully, as I said, shrink that imposter, make it smaller, go away for a long period of time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think many people are looking for that validation if they're doing right, right? And that doesn't happen. And we have all these appraisal processes and performance evaluation that comes once in, 6 months. We don't want to wait until that time. If somebody has done a good job, go ahead and appreciate them, throw in a happy hour with meal or something, where they can celebrate and call out those people. It doesn't necessarily have to cash award or a certificate. Just call it out, that you've done a good job. That itself helps validate that they're doing good, and keep doing it over and over whenever they do something good. And if you think like they're facing challenges, then take time to talk to them. Talk to them, understand why they're going through what they're going through, and there are lots of channels within organizations again to navigate through these challenges, and you can help them with that. All they need is time and support, and somebody to listen to, right? That's what I believe, that this will get these people out of this feeling that they're not good enough.
Yeah, and if the employees comes to a manager and thinks that they have some weaknesses to work on, as a manager, don't overreact on something that's their true weakness. And like if you overreact, may delay some promotions. Oh, this is a really critical areas. Try to find out why they think that they want to work on this area. What are the interests and what led them to the thought that they are interested in learning more or improving on that.
Mhm.
uh, if the first piece of critical feedback or just like reacting to anything that says like this is my weakness by kind of delaying promotions, that's probably just going to accelerate the employees withdrawals, or even the employees may quit or just leave the company right
Yeah.
away. It is really common. You'll be able to find information and find either some Reddit or like YouTube videos, TED Talks, things that really speaks to you. As I mentioned before, there's multiple types of imposter. So
Yeah.
which one speaks to you can dive deeper into and doing those research on that specific areas. What worked for me may not work for you is really what you're comfortable with, and it's a learning process. Um, I probably have experienced it over many years, so I have learned that how to identify it. But if it's an earlier stage that you think that you may be experiencing imposter syndrome, there's different tool sets that you can learn, and you can start building the different tools or um, diff- different frameworks that you can ask those questions. It just takes time, and the first step is really just identifying,
Yeah.
is this imposter syndrome or is it really my true weakness, and not kind of put yourself down and get to a really bad point that you're burnt out, you just want to quit, you don't want to take on any risks. Like those are the things that we definitely try to avoid. And one of the consequences, like for imposter syndromes or even toxic environment, is overworked, right? And there's cascade consequences. If you're overworked, you spend 60 hours at work or even more, then you need to make trade-offs. Like we only have 24 hours a day. It may impact your health, it may impact your family, it can impact like whatever that you're passionate about and care about. So surviving, yes, you may survive, you may keep your job, but it's not something that you should
It's
do.
not
And I,
worth.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not what.
Yeah, it is not worth at all. Job is a job, end of day. If it affects your, in fact, it affects your personal life. You cannot just shut it off when it impacts you that much. So, and it gets to your family, it gets to everything that you do after your office work. If it gets to that level, then that's not the right place for you. So, identifying toxic environment and leaving and finding a better place where you get nurtured for who you are and openly admit that you have challenges and you have an area of growth and finding a career plan would be awesome. Yeah, I think the trick is to find such a place.
I'm gonna quote Michelle Obama on one of the quote that I always share with my team is always stay true to yourself and never let what somebody else says distract you from your goals.
Mhm. There are a lot of psychological studies that has happened. Bunch of students, two group of students. It's the same question paper, and they gathered the students of same ability, 4 out of 5, right? And one group they said this is going to be a very difficult paper, and the one they said it's an easy paper. It's just the psychological mindset they went
Yeah.
in. They did not do well. The team A, where they thought it's going to be difficult, they didn't do well. They really thought they were
Yeah,
difficult, and the other one did awesome.
yeah, similar to what I said, like just reframe the situation, reframe the problems as in front of you. If
Yeah.
someone tells me that you need to finish implementation of this feature in 4 weeks or 2 weeks, I will panic. Like my friend's like, I can't do this. But if I reframe it as like I am solving a business problem, something that I really enjoy doing, I'll probably get it done in a week because I like what it is doing and I know how to do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Also identifying your passion. If you're working on something just for the heck of earning, that is where probably you feel you're not good enough because that's not your skill set or that's not your good at really. And then you can find your passion, and then when you do that, then you'll excel. So that is also another way you can come out of the imposter syndrome, I think. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
It's I think I just want to echo one point I made earlier is anybody listening to this channel, if you start noticing you're talking to yourself all the time, try to find someone in your support circle to talk to them and not just have everything in your own head, and that will really, really help. Reach out to chat about the situations with someone. It may be just imposter syndrome, it may be just a thought, it's not the reality.
Thank you, Gladys. That was wonderful. One message I wanted to send is you're not alone in this. This is widespread, and pretty much every single person in this world might have gone through this at some point of time. So just talk it out. Find somebody who you trust and you talk to them and try to overcome it. And end of day, it's just a job. It's you just don't take it too seriously. Take it light and enjoy your life, right?
Exactly. Can't summarize it better than you did. Thank you for having me as well.
Thank you, Gladys. Wonderful to have you. Meet you again. Bye.